My name is Diana, and I have been working at the factory as a typist for 8 years. It's not exactly hard work, but it's demanding. I operate a stationary machine and keep an eye on the indicators for rice. Over the years, all sorts of things have happened, but nothing like that evening. The day started out normally, nothing portended trouble. I arrived for my shift, as usual, at 5 o'clock in the evening, took the equipment, checked all the sensors, and got to work. Apparently, I was either tired or absorbed in my thoughts, and eventually missed an important signal on the console. The car came to an abrupt stop, causing an incident. Our mechanic, Henry Roberts, came running in. Henry was an older man, probably in his 60s, and he had a stern reputation. Everyone was a little bit afraid of him. He was a big guy with a growling voice that he wasn't shy about using, and he shouted orders to the entire workshop. Muttering to himself, he rummaged through the mechanisms, trying to fix them, and I stood there, almost crying, realizing how badly I'd messed up. He worked on it for an hour, his hands covered in oil and completely soaked with sweat. But he managed to fix the machine, and it was finally working again. I was sure he was going to yell at me or make me write a note of explanation. Eventually, my shift ended, and I changed into my work clothes and headed to the locker room to fill out some paperwork. There Henry was sitting at a desk, looking over some paperwork. I went over to him, apologized for the accident, and promised him it wouldn't happen again. He grinned stiffly and said, "For stunts like that, I should give you a good reprimand." I muttered, "Well, better a reprimand than being kicked out of work." I don't know why I said it, but I did. Suddenly he stood up and walked closer. My whole body went cold. I've been married for 20 years. I have 2 children who are practically grown. And yet here I was, and something unexpected was going on around me. He pointed to the door of a small restroom. I followed him, almost in a daze. Inside was a bed against the wall and a curtain over the window, faded from old age. My mind was empty, but my heart was racing. He walked in, closing the door behind him. "Why are you standing here like a statue?" he said, his voice hoarse. Everything that happened after that was like a blur. I remember his rough hands, the smell of machine oil, and oddly enough, mint gum. When it was over, he muttered, "Well, this is it." I was shaking and barely made it home. My husband asked why I looked so pale, and I said I was just tired. I took a shower, but I couldn't get it out of my head. I thought it must be the wrong feeling, but instead it was like I was electrocuted. Since then, I've been stepping louder in my heels as I pass the workshop. Henry pretends not to notice, but when everyone leaves, I linger after my shift. I know it's wrong. I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it. The first few times I stayed late after my shift, I felt like my heart was going to jump out of my chest. I remember every detail: the smell of oil and metal in the workshop, the dim light casting shadows on the walls, and how quiet it was after everyone had gone home. There was tension in the air, as if every step I took was tinged with anticipation. Henry watched me, his eyes narrowing slightly, but he never said a word in front of the others. It was like we were playing a dangerous game, and the thrill of it sent shivers down my spine. Yesterday I found myself in that room again, and you know what? I think I fell in love for the first time in years. I started spritzing perfume on my hair and trying to look prettier. I even started wearing a little makeup to work, which I haven't done in ages. My husband is happy, believing that the change is for him. He has no idea of the maelstrom of emotions I've gotten myself into. I still cook his favorite meals, still laugh at his jokes, but in the back of my mind is always Henry. It's a sense of invigoration. It's an electric feeling the likes of which I've never experienced. Throughout the day, I catch myself daydreaming about Henry, imagining the moments we shared, the roughness of his hands, the smell of machine oil, and the unexpected flavor of mint gum. I know these moments aren't supposed to happen. I know they go against everything I've built over the past 2 decades, but somehow this secret feels like it's mine alone, something meant just for me, away from the routine of my marriage and the predictability of my life. I want to feel desired, to be desired in a way that shakes me to my core. And with Henry, I succeed in doing just that. Every time we find ourselves in this little room, I feel like I'm losing myself, and maybe that's exactly what I crave. To let go of all responsibilities for a few fleeting moments. To give up the role of mother, wife, employee, and just be a woman with desires. I feel guilty when I look at my children, knowing I'm keeping this secret from them, from my husband. But when I'm with Henry, the guilt fades into the background, replaced by something raw and exciting. I don't know what comes next, but I know I've never felt so alive. I want to keep going, even if it's dangerous. I want to keep feeling that rush of energy, that thrill that makes my blood sing. I know that one day everything may come crashing down, but for now I will cherish every stolen moment, every whispered word, every secret touch. I want to keep this feeling of life alive, even if it's just for a little while longer.